I'm glad to be here. Always good to make it through sudden death.
You're making a habit of these sudden death victories. I was trying to remember how many of these you've won. Not just get through, but you've actually won several of these. Why is that?
You know, I try to go out there and start have a good start. And I mean, if you can get off to a good start, find yourself in a good area to begin with, it really can make a difference. And I was fortunate to be able to do that today. I learned a lot in my first round that I could carry over. So I was looking for the same type of thing, and I just got pretty fortunate and shut down on a school of fish.
Kevin, you crossed the 28-pound cut line about an hour and 15 minutes into the second period. How much pressure were you feeling when Ott jumped into the lead?
I knew, he was really making a strong push at the end of the first round. So I knew he'd found something. I saw him, the way he was fishing in the first round against me, and we were fishing similar patterns. So I knew that, he had the potential to. And, at that point, we both had a pretty good distance between us and third place. So I wasn't that concerned. But, you always want to win. But, yeah, when he jumped up in the second period and he was like within ounces, he had 27-13 or 50, he was just a few ounces away. I'm like, man, I just wanted to catch one. That 30-minute break just slowed my fish down. They just went, the bite just went away, and I couldn't catch them where I was catching them in the first period. So I made a move and fortunately got one to bite real quick, and he still hadn't caught that same one. So I think we were probably feeling the same presence in the areas we'd fished.
Kevin, you had two penalties early in the first period. Did your boat official call a good game today?
Oh, no doubt. The thing that was frustrating about the first penalty that I got is I was fishing a fast current shoot, and the smallmouth I caught a smallmouth, and he just you just can't hang on to him, and he hit the floor, and man, I was like 300 yards downstream by the time the penalty was over. So it took a while to get back in position. That's the thing when you're fishing a river, or if it's windy, you can just really get moved off your spot. Nobody wants a penalty. We're not trying to mishandle the fish or drop them or anything. It's sometimes it happens.
You normally fish out of the larger nitro boat. Do you feel it's a disadvantage fishing out of the nitro Z18?
Not at all. This is my first experience with a Z18. It's a brand new boat for nitro. I've been using a Z21 myself all season long. It's just a smaller version of the same thing. So I really like it a lot. And, with the motor guide trolling motor that we have on there, it's 36-volt motor. We've got a ton of power with it. The fisheries that we go to, especially here on the river, it's an advantage to have that little smaller boat. It'll float in shallower water. I can go to places that I can't necessarily go in a big boat. So on this water, it's an advantage to have it.
Speaking of the river, you were on a different part of the river today. Were you able to use anything that you learned in the first round?
Yeah, absolutely. I knew after the first round that current breaks and, anything that would kind of concentrate the fish like that, some of these bottlenecks where a ditch entered the river, a back chute slough, or, any of those entrances like that where, a fish could sit there and ambush a bait would be what I'm going to look for. And so that's really what I did in my whole ride through, is look to see how much of that was in this section. And believe it or not, there was not very much, a lot less. So I just, concentrated on the areas that to me looked the best that I saw in my ride through in the morning, and fortunately stumbled onto one pretty good spot.
What baits, what techniques really worked for you today?
I caught really all of my fish today on a Strike King KVD 1.5 square bill and a Strike King KVD 3/8 ounce double willow spinner bait. This was one of my best colors right here. It's kind of a spring craw. It's chartreuse crawfish with some orange in that. That's just a great color anytime you're fishing on the river around rocks and smallmouth. And today I caught a lot of largemouth, but this is just a perfect bait. With the river levels so low right now, a lot of these areas where there's some rock jetties in that, just have 2, 3, 4, 5 foot of water over them, and this bait runs perfect for that depth, and it just is real erratic around those rocks. So it'll trigger them even in these high bright skies and hot days.
Now, the Elite Series Tour, you guys have been here a few times before to this region, but at a different time of the year. So do you kind of have to divorce yourself from that previous knowledge?
I thought it would be an advantage when I came here in the first round because we shut down right where I fished one of the Elite Series events here, and I went to go to a backwater area that I just knew. I mean, it was a 10,000 acre backwater that had a ton of milfoil and pencil reeds and grass, and it was dry. I mean, it was actually a wall of tall marsh grass. You couldn't even go in there. I was absolutely blown away when I saw that. So I knew right then that I had to just forget about everything that I'd seen and just read the current conditions, and I knew that current would be important. So I just tried to find areas that had some current flow, some ditches and cuts and things like that would hopefully concentrate the fish, and I was lucky enough to get through the first round, to find enough fish to really make that happen. And after that first round, I knew I needed to find or try to find at least some of the same stuff for this second round, because the pools that we fished were fairly similar.
Can you take a minute and explain what you like about competing in a MLF event?
What I like is, the no information, everybody's on the level playing field, and it's you got to figure it out fast. You got to make things happen fast, and it fits my style. I'm not a slow-paced fisherman. I'm not one of those guys that likes to just finesse around and fish real slow and try to catch every fish out of an area. I want to move quick and look for active and aggressive fish, and in this format, you have to be able to do that. I mean, you got to get going pretty quick, and so it does fit my style. It gives me a lot of confidence, but all these guys are good at that. They know, this isn't the first time, and I saw it earlier. A lot of the guys that have came up through the selects, to compete against that whole group of select anglers and make it to the cup, you've got to be able to make fast decisions, cover water quickly, and the guys that consistently, for 2 years now, you see some of the same faces. It's those guys that have that ability. So, that's this format. And that's what you have to do in competition, is you have to adjust your game plan to the rules or, to the variables that are thrown at you. And Major League Fishing just, it fits my style. So it's something I really enjoy to do. I like the pressure.
Kevin, talk to me about Ott. You guys in the first round kind of went back and forth, and he nipped you at the end, I think, and then today you're going back and forth, and you nipped him in the end. It's almost like you guys, at least this week, have a little bit of a rivalry going.
I wouldn't say it's a rivalry, but Ott is a really good river fisherman. He's very good at fishing current. He spends a lot of time in Tennessee fishing rivers and streams in the summer. He's got a jet boat just so he can run super shallow water to get to a lot of those places. So he knows what to look for, and he understands current. And, I saw in the first round that he was fishing that way, and watching the leaderboard, that him racking it up and I was catching him. So it gave me the confidence to know I was doing the right thing. And the same thing today. I knew right off the get-go, after the ride through, I'm running around, and I seen, he chose the same general little area that I did after the ride around to start in. So, we're looking for the same things. We're thinking the same way. And, if we go into the championship round and it's that type of water, I would imagine it's probably going to be more of the same. But you never know. The commissioner, they throw us a curveball, and we could be in a totally different body of water.
How many pounds do you think it'll take to win the Summit Cup championship?
I think, if we fish similar water on the river, and that it's probably going to take, 40 to 50 pounds to win. And if we go to some place that's maybe even a little better, who knows? This this area in La Crosse is a fantastic fishery. It's very healthy. It's got lots of vegetation. It's got a huge population of fish. If we get in the right area, we could easily break the record that we set up in Michigan. So it just depends on the timing and the conditions. The weather is not helping us this week. Having 90-degree hot sunny days with no wind is not good for the bite. It'd be better if it was 72 degrees and cloudy and with some wind, or even a rainy day, believe it or not, up here would be really good this time of the year to activate these fish. You get these, weeks like this, an Indian summer where it's just hot and summer doldrums and 90 degrees and no wind. It just doesn't speed the current up, doesn't do anything. These fish know it's not a conducive time for them to feed, and it slows the bite down.
Hear you guys say a lot about the format and how it's different than the Elite Series Tour, and even within the scope of MLF competition, today is a little bit different than the other two rounds. The other two rounds I've described as a marathon. You just got to be hanging on and be there at the end. Today's a sprint. It's out of the gate. Do you change your strategy up with that?
Absolutely. To me, that's one of the fun things. I love competition, period. It doesn't matter if I'm fishing in a 10-boat family tournament, an Elite Series event, or a Major League competition day. You have to adjust your game plan for the rules and the format that you're in on that day. And sudden death is totally different than a first round or a championship round. You have got to get on the leaderboard and get going. One of the things that I think is really important in the sudden death round is to get off to a good start and get in the other guys' heads. Get them thinking that, hey, they're behind, and start making them make decisions that get them out of their comfort zone. And the reason I say that is because I've been exactly on the other side of it, and I know that's what it makes me do. And, it's interesting because most of these guys are friends of mine. So when we talk after one of these events are over, we all feel the same things and we see the same things, and you're trying to make it happen, but sometimes you just can't. But if you just sit still, you're going to die. You're just going to, you're going to fold. So it forces you to make decisions that you wouldn't make in other competitions.
This is probably a silly question for Kevin VanDam, but do you ever get nervous?
You know what? I wouldn't say really nervous. I get, there's a lot of anticipation. Just like last night, I'm pretty fired up to go into this round today. And a couple times during the night I woke up, looked at the clock, just seeing how much time, So I wouldn't call it nerves, but it's just that excitement and anticipation that you're trying to, not knowing what's going to happen. What's different here is we don't know what the commissioner is going to throw at us. We don't know where we're going to go. We don't know, really what the cut weight's going to be, anything like that. So it's just all that anticipation of that day that you don't know until you show up at the boat ramp.
One last question. One thing you do kind of know just from the area is that you're not going to be in a place in the championship like you were at Ray Roberts, which was kind of like being in jail because so much timber is so hard to move around. And last year, you were in another championship round, Shreveport, Bossier. Again, a lot of trees on Caddo. Wherever it ends up that you end up for the championship day, you probably are going to have room to move around and do so quickly. Does that make you feel pretty confident going in?
I like that a lot better. The one challenging thing here is if you're on the river, there's a lot of shallow backwater areas, and it is hard to navigate. And you can try to run into a place and get stuck, or have to idle a long ways out. So it's not like a big open lake. It's not like a lake in Michigan where there is no restrictions there. You're not going to have a problem. But it's definitely better than what we saw at Caddo or Ray Roberts with all that timber. Where you're just forced to have big idle zones. Here, you have more options, and I think that they'll probably give us some space. Championship round is just that, and we really you really want to be able to showcase the anglers' talents. And when I went out this morning and looked at the other 5 guys, I'm like, are you kidding me? I knew it was going to be trouble because they're some of the best anglers there are in the sport, and they're all excellent at this kind of fishing that we're doing. So if I just was asked earlier about if I get nervous. Well, the only thing that made me nervous is knowing the ability of the guys that I had to compete against, and that's why it's so important to get off to a good start.